try this computer. Hey, I did something here. The brother coming in. Not bad. Still bringing guys in. This has got to be the oddest Brady Bunch get together I've ever seen. All right, guys, since I'm waiting for other guys and gals to come on in, I'll introduce myself. If you guys have never met me before, I'm Rick Shifty Gaines. I'm coming out of Detroit, Michigan. I happen to have been a clown since about 2014, so I'm relatively a newbie. What I'm going to show you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is how I put on the goose face. It's how I put it on. However you want to put on your face is completely up to you. I'm just going to show you how I do it, and hopefully you guys can gather some information from it. I've been taught by many, many fine clowns, up including a couple of boys I got to give a shout out over in Chicago. Fez Torres, which you may or may not be familiar with. He goes by the clown name of Pinky. And John J.J. Joseph is another one that I've been working with. He showed me how to do a lot of makeup as well. And the list goes on and on. I've been very fortunate to go through the Shrine fraternity, meet a lot of fellow clowns that helped me along the way in the makeup. So I'm hoping that whatever tricks they show me will help you guys out. I have taken some notes, so I'm going to go through the notes and try to keep some type of order. And at any given time, afterwards, or if you guys want to use the hand up, I think there's an emoji here. Go ahead and utilize that. I'll try to stop what I'm doing and answer the question best I can. Can everybody hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
All right, visuals okay. Looks pretty clear. Got enough light? We're good? All right, so I got a couple more minutes here. I'm going to make a shameless plug here. I also happen to be the president of the Great Lakes Shrine Clown Units Association at this time. Part of my charge is I have to be the chairperson to put on a convention, which I plan on doing here. It'll be April 19th through the 22nd, right here in Michigan, in Ann Arbor at the Wyndham Gardens. If you would like, I can give you some information afterwards, but I have a lot planned over the next few days. Before me, there is another convention in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's the International Shrine Clown Association's midwinter. They also have a great program that's happening, I believe, from the 15th through the 19th. And that is being hosted by Andrew Chili Pepper Melba. I'm hoping that I see a few of you guys out there. I'll be making a trip out there. And another convention that's coming up that's open to all shrine clowns, it's an open event, is the Southeast Shrine Clown Association has their Shrine Clown Jamboree in Gatlinburg. I believe that is from March 9th through the 11th. It is a good time if you guys want to go down there and get some fellowship in and have a hoot. I mean, these guys know how to make you laugh in spades. I think Radish has been there once before. You guys should give it a shot. You guys will definitely feel welcome. Before I get started here, anybody have any questions right off the rip that I can answer? Dave Clark? Nope. All right. So at this time, if you guys can, I want you to put your mouse over your photo, and somewhere on there in the upper right, it should say mute. I'm going to have you guys mute your sounds at this time so there's no background. I can do it physically, but I'd rather not be rude if I can help it. And I allowed you to record also. If I knew how to, I would most definitely allow you to, Betty. Best I can do is when I get done, I can send you over a copy. But pardon my ignorance on it. I'm still learning. All right, let's see. You're going to go with that. Let's see, mute, and mute. Okay, I think I got everybody started. All right. I'm going to treat putting on clown makeup like you would prepping for auto paint. Yes, you heard me right. Just like prepping for auto paint. So what's the first thing you do before you start painting a vehicle? First thing you want to do is make sure it's clean, right? So first and foremost, I'm going to give you some sound piece of advice right off the rip. Before you try on any new face in clowning, make sure that you give yourself enough time to practice with it. If you think 2 hours is not enough time, give yourself 2.5 hours. You're going to need the time to experiment and find out what works for you, especially if it's brand new to you. So if you plan on putting on a new clown face, give yourself the time, give yourself a half hour more time than what you actually need. Because the last thing you want to do is try to rush it together and then you're not completely satisfied with how it turned out. Now, when you first put on a face, of course, you're going to want to tune it up as you go. So again, this is why I'm telling you, first and foremost, before you try putting on a clown face, give yourself enough time. Give yourself at least 2 hour window. Break some time off to yourself. Hey, honey, not now. I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Give myself some time and work with it. Half of fun of clowning is experimenting who you are and how it looks on you, right? Right. All right. So back to my car analogy. Before I start painting any type of car or surface, first thing you do is clean. So be sure, first and foremost, I know this is going to be gross to some ladies and I apologize, but men, make sure you trim the hairs up here, the hairs in here, even the hairs in here, depending on what face you're going to utilize. If you're going for a hobo tramp, believe it or not, that would be acceptable. Having the bushy eyebrows, having a little bit of nose hair is okay. Having a little bit of ear hair is okay. But if you're going for a cleaner look, like a white face or an Auguste, you want to take the time to go ahead and do a little bit of manicuring around the eyebrows and the nose and in the ears. As I'm getting older in age, losing more hair down here, and it seems to be squirting out everywhere else. So keep that in mind, gentlemen, when you're putting on a face. You only get one chance to make a good impression to anybody. It's just like going to a job interview. You got to be prepared. So if you have just a little bit of light oil on your face, I recommend good old-fashioned Huggies baby wipes. I do that even after I clean my face. Make sure I don't have any oils or anything on there. You want to clean it up. You have any deep creases, you want to make sure you get those. Now would be a good time to blow your nose, especially if this is the winter time. You want to make sure none of that's going, because you'll get going on your makeup, and it does happen. If you guys have been in a clown alley and it gets cold out and you're coming in, you get the sniffles, and then next thing you know, you got 3/4 of your face on, and all of a sudden you got to try to keep yourself cleaned out before you get to the makeup part. The method I'm going to show you guys is a wet method. So the powdering is the last thing I absolutely do. And I'll explain that once we get into it. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to go down into the neck and into the clothing line. I'm simply going to go around the chin here at this time. I'm not going to go into the ears, but typically I do run my makeup into the ears and behind the neck, depending on what costume I'm wearing. It's good to practice that at all times, even if you're not going to competition, because you're always trying to be a complete clown, in my own humble opinion. I'm trying to always be a complete clown into that character. So now that I've gone ahead and done the cleaning, next step I'm going to do is I'm going to use a skin prep. I'm sure Maron sells one. What this does, a little bit goes a long way. What this does is allows the skin to have a slight barrier between the skin itself and the makeup. It also helps keep your skin from perspiring through the makeup, which can wear it out much quicker. So when you're using this stuff, a little bit goes a long way. Do not get it in your eyes. It will sting. Done it before. I utilize this where I have a lot of deep sockets or deep creases. So up in here, up inside the eyeballs, anywhere there's a lot of hair, I'll rub that in. Now I believe Clown Antics carries a skin prep. And I also have a shrine friend of mine. He owns his own little store. He's also online. I'm going to give a shout out to Sniffles Clown Supplies. Give this guy a shout. He's got just about anything you can think of as far as makeup goes. He sells wigs. He sells all kinds of different attire. He sells shoes. So give him a shout. He'll probably help you out with what you need. Just about everything I buy here generally comes from his store. If I can't find it there, I go through Clown Antics. There's not that many clown stores out there that I'm aware of in my general area. If you have some, feel free to share it. We definitely want to have a bigger, broader net on where to buy our supplies because they're tough to come by. All right, so we cleaned, we got the skin prep. Now it's time to get at it. Auguste comes usually in about 2 basic tones. So I'm going to put on the base with a Mayron Clown White. All right. And all my makeup here, as far as the base go, is going to be grease makeup. And I have a Mayron Auguste grease cup right here. This one has a lot of orange in it. You can also get a light Auguste if you'd like. Personally, I like the darker orange. It gets more effect. But they do have a dark Auguste, a light Auguste, and then this, I believe, is their medium Auguste. So you may want to experiment around a little bit, see which one works for you and your skin tone. I work with this one as well, so that when I get closer to the neckline into my clothing, I don't need to put on as much. I'll start to taper it down until it turns into flesh tone, so that I don't intentionally start having a makeup transfer onto my outfit. So, all right, without further ado, the first thing I start out with is the white. General rule of makeup when it comes to putting on your base that I've been told is you start out light and then go to your dark colors. Otherwise, you end up mixing them all up and it could get messy. To apply it, everybody runs a little different. If you want to start getting a little fancy, look into getting an art kit. All right. I don't typically use all these brushes. You can tell by which ones I do use right off the rip. So I'm going to go ahead and call out the names of the brushes that I use. So this is a number 9. It's a flat tip artist brush. All right. And I literally paint my grease paints on. I know that's a little unconventional. Some guys do this, some guys do not. Some guys will actually outline with a pencil. I find it's just as good with a brush. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize this. I'm going to start with the white. If you have any questions at any given time while I'm putting on makeup, feel free to unmute yourself if you can, and I'll try to answer them while putting on makeup. I'm going to try to be quick, but I don't want to be so quick that I end up doing a messy job either. So I've got a little bit of white Auguste on here, or white on here now. I usually start in the pits of the eyes and work my way out. You'll find using a brush, you don't use as much makeup either. Interesting enough. At least that's what I've found in my experience. So it goes on fairly easy inside of there. And you can also start to shape. You see me okay, or am I hiding behind the camera? So I make sure. I've never really done this before.
Looks good to me.
Appreciate that, brother. Now, for those of you that have bushy eyebrows, I shave mine down just for the purpose of instruction. Yes, I do that. I'm going to give you a tip. Go to any Walmart, Target, CVS, look for this little glue stick. If you got bushy eyebrows and you have a hard time with them laying down, I suggest you get one of these. I prefer the one with the purple dye in it, but you won't see it. It'll dry clear. I will actually run this over my eyebrows. Give it about 2 minutes to dry up. It'll skin over. And the dark eyebrows, you won't be able to see any longer. It won't bleed through as much. So it's a little tip for you guys to use if you need it. It's a good one to use for competition if you need that slight edge. All right. Hopefully that was helpful. Okay. Let's see. Let's have a little fun with this one. We'll go up, a little higher, and then over. And then we'll fill that in. I'm not going to worry too much about making straight lines. I'm just going to make a general shape. You can always cut out what you're not going to use later. And what I'm hoping to show you guys is how to blend the white into the flesh tone and make it look like one started and where one began, you really can't tell. It'll blend it in really nice. Just by a show of hands, how many of you guys actually play with your face and make faces in the mirror before you put on makeup? All right. And what's the biggest thing you notice when you're making faces at yourself? You ever pay attention to where the eyebrows start to make the most movement, where you can get the most movement in your face? It's what you should be looking for when you're putting together your clown face, when you start putting on your details, so you know exactly where everything's at and where to put your makeup to make it get the most movement. You get the most reaction out of it. All right, so put a little bit more makeup in the eyebrows here. I say that hid pretty well. Another thing about having a brush is if you've got a little bit of hair, the brush will actually get in between the hairs as you're combing through. You do a nice job of covering some of this. All right. Somewhat happy with that. Next thing I'm doing is going to do the muzzle or the mouth. As a rule of thumb, when you're putting on your muzzle for most Auguste, but feel free, this is just a general rule. You do not have to follow the rules. When you're putting on a muzzle, you look in the mirror and you look where your pupils are. You draw an imaginary line, and wherever that ends is basically where you want to start your muzzle, and you don't really want to go any wider than that if you can help it. All right, that unless you're going for a grotesque look and you want your mouth way bigger than your eyes, if you're looking for a general kid-friendly look without risking too much of being scary, I found that if you try to line everything up within your pupils and try to line everything up within those lines, everything should fall in nice and it doesn't look out of place. But again, I'm not looking for clones here. I'm looking for clowns. These are just general ideas. You can take or subtract anything that you'd like. Now I'm going to try to put some shape on the mouth. Try. And now I've completed my milk mustache. So now you get an idea how much control you actually have on the brush too. You see it's fairly easy to navigate. I'm not a painter by any means, I can assure you. That muzzle be a moving. All right, so we got the base on the white. As you can see, there's a lot of broken patterns. It kind of looks kind of chalky. It's not really uniform and set. So I'm going to let you guys in on another little secret that I've got here. Pardon me 1 minute, won't get there. Miss me? All right. So the next little tip I've got is these little things right here. They are cosmetic wedges. I don't know if you have a Target where you're at, but that's where I get mine. They seem to be the cheapest. There's 32 of these little buggers that come in. I use them a lot, especially for Auguste. I'll go through about 5 or 6 of these every time I do a face, and we'll see why in a moment. I use the flat end right here for most of my blending work. I also use it to set this makeup and make it uniform. Some guys, they use their fingers and they'll draw it out and they'll pat it into place. Instead of that, I actually use the sponge, and I can show you a reason why when we get a little bit further, why I prefer using the sponge to pat in and blend than your fingers. And I'll show you why in just a moment. So first and foremost, I want you to grab a sponge. I'll put a little bit of the makeup on the flat because I don't want it picking up. The sponge will actually pick up the makeup and make it lighter in some areas. But in this case, I'm putting on the makeup on the end of this sponge to kind of make it uniform so that it'll actually spread it out evenly without taking it away. Like I said, don't worry about going outside the lines because we're going to fix that in no time. So without further ado, I'm going to show you. All you do is basically just take it and you tap it into place, and you'll notice right away it starts to become more uniform and you start picking up all the heavy parts. And you will go outside of your lines, most likely. I'm hoping this camera will pick up the difference between the two eyes so you guys can see for yourself. You see, I'm not pounding real hard. I'm just tapping into place. All right, I'm going to try to give this a shot. Between the two, can you see the difference in one that's been patted down with the sponge and the other one that has not? All right, it's more uniform. There's no heavy spots on it. And that's what the sponge does. It makes it more uniform. It's an extra step. There's a lot of extra steps I probably put in that you guys may or may not use. Again, if it's helpful, take it. If it's not, you don't need it. You only need what you want. All right. So let me finish up this and we'll go to the next phase. Sorry, I don't have a fast motion camera. If I did, I'd be fast forwarding about now myself. All right. All right. Now, don't throw this one out. Keep it. You're going to need it for touch-up. Again, we're putting this all on wet before we finish. So you might have some hot spots, like when you blink your eyes a lot, they'll come up a little faded. Before you powder, you're going to want to use this again to kind of touch it up before you put your powder on. So whatever you use these, the two base colors, your Auguste and your white, put them aside. I usually put them inside the cap of the makeup cover, so I don't forget where it's at, and it's usually the same color and I don't mix it up. All right. Next, you're going to give it a little shape. I got a few little areas I just want to trim out real quick. Again, the Huggies wipes are the thing to use. But you can also use Scott towel. I just find this a little easier for cleanup. I can make corners of it a lot easier and just clean out what I don't want. For guys that have the pompadour like I've got, nothing embarrassing about using a headband. All right, so let me see how I'm going to do this here. And don't worry about too much about erasing too much. You can always add it. That's what you save the sponge for. Oop. Sorry about that, Mr. Dan. All right.
Hey,
Hopefully
how's
that
it
didn't
going?
take long. Going well. Dan's
Oh,
iPhone.
good.
I think I know this guy. I think that might be Fuzzy. Am I correct?
No, it's Doc
Doc.
from Al Shamal, Edmonton,
Sorry, brother. I got it
Alberta.
wrong. There's another Dan that I know.
Yeah,
Fortunately, he hasn't made it yet, but glad you can make it, man. Hopefully I didn't
Yeah.
get too far ahead of you.
yeah. I got to. I've got you on my iPhone here.
Yeah.
Because I can't get it to come up on my laptop because there's no address or anything. Because it got forwarded to me through Rick Schumalak and Chris Ellard, those guys.
Ah. Well, either way, glad to see you here. Hopefully you can get something out of the class. We've already started.
Sure.
So what we started with so far is first making sure that you have time to put on a new face. If it's brand new to you, give yourself about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, just so you can play around a bit. We went over making sure that you had some, make sure that you cleaned your face first. You took care of any little trimming of the hairs and such.
Right.
Y'all don't mind me going over the recap?
Yeah, I've never really done any kind of base stuff before. I've always just put my makeup on and it seems to work for me. I think last time I saw you was probably in Las Vegas, right? You had the cannonball.
No, I was never in Vegas. So it's one
Okay.
place I'm going to have to try.
Okay.
I've been in Florida a couple times that I do know.
Okay. Medina, Chicago, were you there?
I was in Chicago, yes.
Okay, yeah, then that's where I saw you last, probably.
All right, so out of my handy dandy case here, I'm grabbing my next brush, which is a number 12. It's a flat, but it's got a little bit of an angle to it. This is the one that I utilize for Auguste. So it's a number 12, regular painter's brush, angle flat. The reason I use the angle is I'll utilize this tip. That's my drawing edge. The rest of it is my applicating edge. So if you're new to bringing brushes to the game and putting on your makeup, this is why I use it. Now I intentionally, if you notice, both of these aren't perfect, but don't worry. That's the beauty of working with grease makeup, is you can blend it and make it what it ain't. All right. All right. So let's get a dollop of this stuff going. Get the Auguste rolling. This is a new one here, so it'll take a minute for me to get the oil warmed up. It looks like we're getting it. That's a pretty orange one here. All right. I think I got enough to get me started. The first thing I'm going to start with this is you want to outline all your white with the Auguste before you start filling in. All right. That gives you an idea where your baselines are, and you don't have to worry about cross net line as you get going. So put on your white first. Like I said, when you start out with your Auguste makeups, even your hobo tramp, you start with your lightest to your darkest. All right. So without further ado, let me get to it. Oh, right between the eyes. Feel like a Comanche, putting on war paint. Anybody see how I'm utilizing that point? That's a pretty good job. You don't have to worry about sticking your eye either. So far, so good. All right. So we got the basis of that set in. So now we can take all that heavy and start spreading it out. I'm gonna handle it around the mouth and the muzzle, and then we'll move on. All right. One more major line to handle, and we're good to go. Now is probably not a good time to sneeze. All right. Now from here, you can get messy. You can start filling in the blanks. Once you got your outlines in, the rest of it's just filling in. All right. Got a little on the forehead, and then we get to the next spot. Not the hair. Don't mind me, I'm juggling. I got people coming in as well. Okay. So grab yourself a fresh sponge, because now we're going to get rid of this oily looking mess that we got here and try to smooth it out. All right. So like I said, you get a fresh sponge. We're going to utilize the flat end on here. Prime it a little bit with some of your Auguste makeup. Like so. It's not done heavily, just enough to prime it. And what you're going to want to do here is for your guiding edge, so you don't blend the two right off the rip, you don't blend the white into the Auguste. You're going to take a look at the 90 part of this, and where the long end is here, that is the end you're going to use to trace on your line. Okay, so right where the two colors meet, you're going to start tapping that in first to set your makeup into that area. And then once you're done outlining everything, you're going to spread out from there and get all the pools and whatnot leveled out. Okay, anybody have any questions so far? It's a tedious process. We're getting through it. I appreciate your patience. All right, let me get at it. Now, if you should see this, before we had a bunch of greasy marks everywhere. If this is done right, you'll go from being a wet look, it'll turn more into like a matte or a flat look. Once it's all said and done, I'm hoping that, 'cause I can only see a square that's so big by so big, I'm hoping that you guys can see that kind of detail that's being pulled out of this just in using the sponges itself. So if you can see it, give me a thumbs up. If you can't, say, no, can't see it. All I can tell you is you have to take my word for it and give it a practice with these sponges, because they will help you out a long ways, especially with blending. All right, so the makeup is still wet, as you can see. If you notice, you can start to see the eyes are starting to turn gray where the heat transfer is. Remember I told you, you're gonna wanna keep that other sponge to touch that up. I'm not too concerned about that right now. As you can see, I'm gonna take this. Here's the cap of my Auguste, put it right there, so I do not lose it. I'll put the brush right in the same cap, and I'll move on to the next step. This is the fun step. This is where the magic happens. And this is where you find out you don't have to be perfect when this all happens. We're gonna get into the blending phase. The best tool I've ever used for blending is the sponges, by far. If no one else can show me another way to do it and get it done a lot quicker, please let me know, because I'm always in learning something new. I'm always the student. So I'm going to use another one of these sponges. All right. Now, if you've got heavy makeup on now, what you may be able to do is use this without priming both sides. That means you're going to take half of it, make it white, the other half, and make it the Auguste. And what you're going to do to blend it is you're actually going to ride the line 50-50 of where the Auguste and the white meet. You're going to tap onto that. And what you're going to do when you do that is you're actually going to blend the two together so that you don't see that straight line any longer. They blend together. So you can't tell where the one starts and where the one ends. Okay. I'm going to show that to you in just a moment. I'm going to start around the eyes first. Now myself, I like the blending look a lot better because I use a lot of powders to accent a lot of the stuff that I use, a lot of the looks that I have. Others, they may like that separation look. Okay, so for those of you that like that nice blended look, I'm going to show you that technique. For those of you that want that hard line look and you want to keep it that way, then you might be fine right where this is at. You may want to adjust here and there to make the shape a little more rounded or squared, however you like it. But in this instance, I'm going to show you how to blend. All right. And it starts by using these wonderful little wedges here. And I'm going to show you again. This is your hard edge where the 90's at. Use the hard edge, use this bottom edge. You're going to split the pretend the sponge splits in two here. Half of it's going on the Auguste, the other half's going on the white. All right. And you're just going to tap that into place. You can probably adjust and move it a little bit to your own liking, but you're going to find out that the two are going to blend together eventually. All right, so let me get at it. Anybody see what just happened? All right, and yeah, it didn't get perfect, but the white stayed white and the other part did what it's going to do. And you just literally, you split on there and you make it and you adjust it the way that you want. You can have more blending if you want. You can make the white a little bit more. You can make the Auguste a little bit more. It depends on what you want. All right. You may go through more than one of these, so don't worry. If you got too much of one color on there and it's not working any longer, it looks like it's too much, toss it, get another one. That's why you buy a 32 pack and you buy them cheap. Make that look come out. All right. Everybody hear me all right? We're good? Camera's good? All right. Hello, Sherry. I see you over there. Or should I call you Squeaky? Skeeky. Skeeky. I got to repronunciate.
Hey there, I'm just working and watching you.
Working and watching.
Yeah, I'm
Sounds
up
like-
at Mount Holly on a field trip.
Hey, Ricky,
Yes,
just quit clowning around, okay?
I'm gonna keep clowning as much as I can here. I'm here for you guys tonight. I do notice with the blending technique, there's a little bit more forgiveness. You don't have to be perfect. Now you see, I do have a little mix up in there. That color does get in there, but don't panic. All right. All you're gonna do is you take that white I just told you to hold on to. You just erase it. See? No worries. And if that white one gets dirty, toss it out, get another one. No big deal. That's why you keep your eraser always around. All right. About this time, I wish I had Rob Ross's voice. Make happy little clouds. I don't have that gift, not yet. My face is heating up this makeup, so I'm fierce today. You guys are making me nervous. All right. See what we're getting at? Okay. So from here, your face should be heating up the makeup pretty darn good, and you're starting to get that glaze again. If you're okay with the way the blending is, and the way everything's looked, this is what your base is for Auguste. From here on out, I'm going to powder at this point, and then I'm going to let the other makeups and the accents take care of the rest of the work. But for all intents and purposes, this is the base Auguste. You can change the muzzles if you want. You can change the eyes. I'm just basically showing you how to put on the basics and then powder up. But this is the basics so far. And then if you guys are going to stick around for a little bit, I'm going to show you how to use some of the powders and some of the accents that I put on later. So give me just a moment. I'm going to powder up here. I'm going to get my Grandpa Munster on. So I'm curious, so I got everybody on here. I know that talc has been put off the market, but I'm still hoarding whatever I can find. It's still the best setting powder, I believe. Has anybody else experimented and used any other powders? You can feel free to unmute if you'd like and let me know what you're using.
I use a Mayron setting powder. I've been using that for about 4 or 5 years. I put in a sock with cotton balls in it, and I pat it on.
I haven't tried that yet. Like I said, when they started taking the stuff off the shelves, I've been hoarding it. So I even had some people say, hey, we're not going to use this anymore, and they donate it to me. So I've been very fortunate on that.
I'm a white face. I use Ben Nye white setting powder. Seems to be okay.
Touching up a little bit of the white here. And then I'm going to make, this isn't what I would use for competition, but I want to get you guys the basics here, but I want to make sure it looks decent for y'all too. All right, done playing around here. So I actually use, for putting on powder, old Tupperware dish full of baby talc powder, fragrance free, no cornstarch. I don't know if you've been told, but cornstarch, the new stuff they put out there, especially if you're a white face, over time, if your body perspires or starts to get its own oils, it'll start to turn yellow. Nobody wants to see a yellow clown that I've ever seen. All right, so this is a Mayron cosmetic powder applicator. Again, Sniffles Clown Supplies gets me all that. Another plug for Sniffles. He doesn't give me any free product, so I just went ahead with it anyway. So when I start, I usually go in the eyes first. I put it on liberally and let it set for about 5 minutes. But for the sake of everybody here, I'm not going to wait 5 minutes. Now, how many people noticed that I actually colored the nose too? There's a method to my madness. I'm sure some of you guys and gals have been to a circus, and you always got that one little kid that wants to grab your nose. Sometimes they keep it against your wishes. So it's always a good idea to color that nose if you can. There's no better backup nose than your own nose. And for those of you that don't wear a nose, there's nothing wrong with painting your nose, although there is a higher degree of difficulty maintaining it. I wouldn't discourage you from it. All right, and for those that want to know how to put on a white face, well, that ends our tutorial right now. I'm just kidding. On that note, I do plan on making another class for whiteface because I do transition from the hobo, and I'll do the Auguste, obviously, and I do like the whiteface as well. So I do plan on having another class if you guys are interested in joining me. I think the same time next week, Thursday. Wednesday? I'm hearing that there's a lot of lodge meetings that were on Thursday, so I may have that. I'll have it next week for sure, either Wednesday or Thursday of next week. So I will put that on Facebook. All right.
Some of us have the circus next Thursday too.
Yeah.
You too.
Yeah, we do as well. So it'll probably be most likely Wednesday of next week. Thank you, Sherry, for reminding me. All right. Ask my lovely assistant, my wife, to get me a trash bag, please. while this is setting up for a second, I'm just gonna close the makeup cases and get these out of the way. Because we're done with the white at this point. We're done with the Auguste. All right, done with that, done with that. You're gonna clean your brushes for reuse.
So as you're cleaning up, Rick, if you were going to do any oil-based pencils like eyebrows, nose, whatever, would you do that as your next step before you start your powders so that you can repowder it?
Yes. So my next step would be to use any of my oil-based pencils because I love using my my Ben Nye or Mayron grease pencils for the lip, for the eyes, for the eyebrows especially. But I also use felt eyeliners in that too. And I'll show you that momentarily. But yes, I would put on all my grease makeup first before I go into the powders. So I'm cleaning my brushes and all I'm using is I'm taking all the excess stuff off using my Huggies baby wipes. Does a very good job of that. You want to leave a little residual behind, and the reason you want to do that is so that when next you go and utilize the brush, you know which one to use. I know it's a cheesy tack, but it does work. You'll be able to tell which one you use for your white face or your white and which one you use for your Auguste at all given times, because it'll take that tone and that texture over time. All right. Don't need a lot of them. If you really are good at face paint and you have a fine line brush, that may come in your arsenal later if you decide to try grease paint again, but utilize very fine lines if you want to try the eyebrows in it. Like I said, your face is your canvas anytime you want. Give yourself enough time to do this and you can plan an outstanding face. Just got to take the time to do it. All right. Goes back to the very first thing I told you. Take the time. Take the time. Speed will come by later. The more you do it, the quicker you'll get, the more comfortable you get with putting on that face. So, all right. We've got that out of the way. I'm going to get my brush and get this going. I'm going to make a mess on this table. Probably on my laptop too, but it's all right.
Can you show the brush you're using?
Sure. This is a very old one, but it's a horsehair brush. I actually got this from Priscilla Moosberger. This does do the job a lot quicker, but if you're on a budget, like some of us are, you can also get a 4-inch soft bristle brush from like Home Depot or whatever. You can use that. There's nothing wrong. I mean, however it takes to get this off, but I like using the horsehair brush, a little fancier, but it does do the job a little quicker. And I believe Priscilla Moosberger also has her own version of cosmetics in her own store. So it's always good to patronize other places because you also pick up new techniques as well. I think it's horsehair. I don't think it's goat hair. All right. So I played with my face a little bit. I know I've got dimples and whatnot, so I try to make that so these really start to jump up and down and everything else. My next step is to put on some type of grease around the lip. So I need to make some type of lip first, or you can start the eyes. It doesn't matter, but you're going to next step with your grease pencils. I use a lot of reds and a lot of blacks in mine. So I'm going to get to it. This one tonight I am using is going to be the Ben Nye. They're the cream crayons. For the money, I usually get the bigger ones, the fat ones, if you can. It's nice to have the thin ones, but unfortunately, you'll find after you make about 1 or 2 faces, you're done with it. And for what you're paying for one of these now, I think they're up to $6 or $7 a piece now. I think I haven't bought one in a while. I'd rather just get the big one, sharpen it to a point, and get what I need, and take care of it. So, all right, let's see. I made a mess. Take care of this real quick. I'm going to start with the lip next. Make sure I have all my powder off. Probably not going to do a full lip for tonight's display. I'm just going to do a partial. So I found that just having a little bit on the bottom lip squared up, you can make a lot of expression. So I will show you that in just a moment. I'm just going to cut out a small section. And all I'm using is a baby wipe that I've just made a nice corner on, that's all. And it cuts it. Even after it's powdered, it'll cut it. Doesn't take a lot, does it? All right. Have that dry just a minute. All right, that'll work. And I've got some pips I'm going to put in as well, just for movement around the lip. If you want perfect ones, some guys put stickers on there before they put on their makeup. Nothing wrong with that. Then you bury the sticker underneath the makeup, and you might have to scrape a little bit away. What I use is I'll actually use the cap of this thing. I'll find a spot that I like, and I'll press it into place and just give enough pressure, and it'll leave a little indentation, and I'll color inside of that indentation. So I'm hoping this camera will show it. Imagine everybody else has a small screen, or is mine coming up as a main screen for the speaker? Somebody explain that to me real quick. I'm the tiny screen. All right, so you have to take my word for it. So I'm going to take the end of this cap. I'm going to find a spot that I want inside of this little white round area and make a pip. And that's just basically for movement and break a color. I don't know if anybody can see that. It's a very slight indentation. You just put a little pressure on there, you twist a little bit, it clears a little bit of the makeup out of the way, leaves 2 perfect circles. With a sharp pencil, mine's dull. You're going to trace those circles, fill them in. That'll work.
Hey, Rick,
Yeah.
can you just take your laptop and maybe turn it a little bit towards your mirror? Because when you go to the mirror, there's a whole lot of left-hand space on my side that you disappear. Thank you.
How's that?
Fabulous.
All right. You can see where I just filled those in. Turns out pretty decent. Next, I'm going to go ahead and draw that lower lip in.
I'm gonna say Nita.
All right. All right, had to powder that right away. If I would have started talking, it would have spread it under the white. So I hope you guys understand why I did that. A lot of play in just little areas. And nothing wrong with just using this if you want, but you can already see what we're getting at here. All right. I'm going to start with the eyes, but I'm going to do something that most guys probably won't do. I'm actually going to put on an eyeliner, but I don't try to overdo it because one, I don't know if you guys are like me, but the older I get, the more wrinkles I got underneath these eyes, and it gets harder to cover them. So I don't go overdoing it. If I had the smooth skin like a 30-year-old, I'd be rolling that underneath without a problem, showing off. But I'm 48 now, so it's a little harder for me to cover that stuff. Now, being that my wife happens to be an Avon rep, she was able to get me an Avon brush tip marker. They're nice. You do a lot of stuff with them. They actually put on makeup very well. This one's a liquid pen, but it's got a brush tip that almost comes to a perfect point. What I'll do with this is I'll actually start not at the corner of the eye because you want to overdo it, but you want to go about 2/3 into the eye, underneath the lower eyelash, and go across. And if you're an older guy and you can see mine naturally goes down, you can draw the line down a little bit. So you're going to create a little bit what they call a cat's eye, but you're going to do just a lower eye. You don't really need to do the top unless you got heavy makeup on the top. Then you might want to do that, especially if you don't wear mascara. If I'm going to competition, I'm wearing mascara. Sorry, gents. It's just the way you got to play. But if you're going to be in the circus or whatnot, I'd recommend that you get yourself some type of eyeliner and you try to take away from the white in your eyelash when you put on your makeup by detracting it by using an eyeliner. All right. So I'm going to put on an eyeliner. I'm going to do my best to show you how I draw it. I'm going to have to look close in the mirror. Otherwise, I'm going to jab myself in the eye with this thing, and that's not going to be comfortable. I don't want that in my eye. So I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to put this just underneath. So just before it goes into the corner of the eye, I'm going to put a very thin line. I'm going to go across along the bottom, and then I'm going to put a little line out there. All right. So I'm going to do with it. I'm not going to get fancy with it. So give me just a moment. I'll show you what I'm doing here. Bring the mirror closer. I think I'm done with the powder for the moment. So I got to cheat a little bit. I got to stretch that skin out a little bit. I told you why, older gentlemen. You understand exactly what I'm talking about. Now the eye's a little bit more defined, isn't it? you can actually see what kind of expression I'm making. Can you see it? Yes or no? So it doesn't take a lot. You just have to underline it a little bit. That's it. Nothing fancy, just enough to bring that eye out so that when you make an expression, when you do, give them a little wink or something, they can actually see that eye and where the placement of your eye is. That's why I do that. It's an extra step, I know, but I do that. That's part of my routine every time. So let me finish up on the other side and we'll get to some eyebrows. You see it? All right, 2 down. Next step, eyebrows. All right. So a couple different ways to do an eyebrows. You can use one of these markers if you'd like, or you can go back to the old traditional grease pencil. I like using my grease pencils. They give me more flexibility. I'm more comfortable with them. The third option, and I mentioned it before, if you're very good with art brushes, paint brushes, feel free to give those a try. Waiting room 1. Who did I miss? I missed somebody? Oh, no, it's just a message. All right, I got that. Sorry, trying to balance. Let's sharpen this up real quick. All right, when applying eyebrows, be it pencil, be it marker, be it brush. Thing I'm going to tell you that's going to help you out is you want to start with your weak side hand first. In my case, I'm heavily right-handed. I'm going to start with my left first and then do my right. Because I found out that if I start my right first, it always ends up being real fancy and nice. And then when I catch up with my weak side, it's never the same. So I end up with 2 completely different items every time. How many by show of hands have come up with that problem? Yeah. So start with your weak side first, and your strong side will save it. It'll make it look the same on the other side 90% of the time. I'm not gonna say 100% of the time, but 90% of the time in my case, I work with the weak side first when it comes to my details, and then I work on the strong side afterwards. All right. So
I use both hands, Rick.
Oh man, you gotta show me how that's done.
Well, I don't know. I just do it that way.
So I will use my weak side. I'll use this as put one hand over the other. I actually use that as kind of something that keeps my hands from shaking all over the place. Because if you're like me, it's usually makeup in the morning after I've had 2 cups of coffee, and it's kind of unstable. So if you can utilize the other hand, use it as kind of like a counterbalance. Literally just rest it. I usually put the elbow on the table and this goes right on top. And in front of my mirror, I'll go ahead and draw my lines. All right, so I'm going to start with this one first. I'm going to play around with my eyebrows a little bit. I got a natural pit that starts right here. So I think I'm going to start inside of that and go around. Some people go onto the natural eyebrow. Some people go just above it. It's all a matter of your personal taste. The one thing I try to practice is I never go past the center of the pupil or the eye. Because I found out that the more you go past the center of the pupil of the eye, it turns out you turn out to be unintentionally, you look more aggressive. So to look more passive and to look more friendly, I stay just at the center of the pupil. I usually slant them up and not down. So it's straight across or just slightly slanted up if you can, okay? Unless you're going with a pirate, then yeah, you can get away with that little hook on the end and down, and you're good to go. But if you're looking for a nice, friendly Auguste, try to start at the center of your pupil of the eye as your starting point, and always try to keep your eyebrows turned up if you're looking for a friendly face. There's one, and I'll fill that in a minute. You see how I got the most play? Because that's where the most action is. That's what you should be trying to shoot for. Every time you try to put makeup on and you were trying to make an accent, find the area that triggers the most movement and try to get the most out of it. And I got to try to do the same thing on the other side with my weak hand. All right, this goes right here and down. I think I got it. All right, so we're going to fill that in now. And I'm just going to add something fancy here, just because. Yeah, a little bit thicker. All right, so we got the basics. We got the eyebrows, we got the lips. This is grease. You're gonna want to powder immediately if you can, all right? All right. To the powder. Ooh, I'm kind of good at this now. Look into the camera. Okay. How are we looking so far? Good? All right. Now we get into one of my favorite parts that really puts all this together. How many of you guys use red powders? Guys and gals, show of hands. Use red powders? All right. Well, one of my favorite colors is the Ben Nye. It's flame red. All right. And I use this a lot. I use that in a lot of things. One thing I'm going to show you. As soon as I find the item, there they are. Brought to you by Target and Walmart. We have, never mind, I'm just kidding. What we have is some eyeshadow applicators. I go through a lot of them. I go through a lot of them because I go through a lot of different shows, and I'm always utilizing these and throw them out. And I use all kinds of different colors. So I'm going to grab one of these right now. I'm going to load up a little bit of red powder on here. I'm going to show you a little trick of the trade here, and hopefully you guys can use it. If not, again, it's at your disposal. So I'm going to load up a little bit of red powder on here. And what I'm going to use it for is, if you ever notice when you're drawing using a grease marker, the edges always seem to be a little rough. Anybody ever experienced that? When you draw with it always seems a little rough. Here's a little trick for you. Utilize your red powder along with this thing right here. And on those rough edges, use the powder along where your red's at. And it's going to straighten them out. It's going to smooth everything right out. It won't look chalky anymore. It also enhances the color. I'll show you just momentarily. I don't know if you could tell the difference between the red dot on my left and the red dot on the right. You tell the difference? So just that little bit, it takes away that little chalky look on the outside, smooths it out, and gives it a lot of color. So a little extra tip for you guys. So these all take a little extra time if you're willing to put it together. If you're going to competition, it could be the difference from between third place and first place. If you're a competition clown. There we go. Right. Something else I was picked up, and this goes from two clowns in Medina. They're Mexican clowns. They're called payasos, I believe. Ocho could probably correct me on that. But these guys taught me
The
that.
tacos, tacos.
They taught me that you can also get a 3D effect on your eyebrows by applying just a little bit over these. So you just put a little bit of an eclipse over these and you get a 3D effect on it. And it looks quite nice. So I'm going to do that real quick and show you guys that. How's that look? A little different, isn't it? So a little bit of powder can go a long way. All right. So obviously I touch up a lot of little things that I do for detail work. But I also use it for the big stuff. So yeah, I have a blush brush. I use it regularly. It sounds like an Alcohol Anonymous admission here. But yes, I utilize the brush a lot. Yes, my wife had to point out, yes, it's a Disney one. Yeah, I have a Disney one. Next thing you know, she's going to have me singing It's a Small World. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dab the heck out of it, load it up. I'm going to hit the nose first because it's the highest point. I'm going to hide it anyway with another nose. But should I ever lose my nose, I have another one to replace it. My natural big schnoz I've got, my own. See, look, the thing just points directions. It's amazing. Chili would be jealous. No, I'm just kidding. I can't believe I just did that. Yeah, I can. Anyway, let me go ahead and add this, and you can start to see where the color comes in.
And you knew I'm going to have to tell him.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, tell him I made a plug for his event too. So I'm really going to hit that schnoz. Yep, I'm going to do it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the apples on those cheeks. Okay, so I'm going to get those. I'm going to pound the heck out of it. So now we're starting to get a more healthy look. I'll let it travel. If you got a cheekbone that goes from here to the ear, darken it a little bit. Also, another little trick for Auguste is you want to hit that jawbone a little bit. So now your face has definition and shape. Otherwise, when you're dressed, you won't see that transition to where your face ends into the neck and then into your outfit. If you do this, it gives just that little subtle reminder that, hey, there's your jawline. You see it all right? Not overly stated. You get what I'm getting at here? The next spot I'm going to hit, but I don't really want to reload, is I want to hit that spot right between the eyes a little bit. I don't want to go into the white, but I want to at least make some type of little mark right here. And that helps give a little depth and character into the face. All right. See, didn't add a lot. And if you think you got too much on, what you can do is you can always take your brush on the side end and take off the little excess before you start to spray it down, okay? All right, so we've covered the cleanup. We've covered on the base makeup, which is what we've got already covered. We covered the details. I'm going to show you one more bit that I use. Some guys do it, some guys don't. But your eyes, to me, are the most expressive things to a kid. And I am a huge fan, an absolute huge fan. If you can find it, the only place I've ever been able to find them is on Amazon. But I love my neon micro powders. Okay. I think they're like, the last time I priced them, they're like $15. I could be wrong. But I've had this same stack of micro powders now for about 6 years. And what's fun about this is I can put on a different face every time. I can try different colors every time, and I get a different result every time I put these on. So these things are always a lot of fun. It helps me because I get bored. I'm like everybody else. I'm human. I'll get bored putting on makeup day in, day out. So I always want to switch it up and change it up. That's why I have always challenged myself by putting on different faces at a given time. So now I can put on a different face, whatever my mood suits me. I don't get bored with it. Nobody wants to get bored with clowning with something they love to do. So this is a big reason why I've stuck with it. I love using these different colors. I'm going to show you how to use it and put it on. We're trying to be clowns. Trying not to enter into RuPaul. That's not my that's not my goal there. No offense to anybody that does do that. It's a different art form. I'm trying to be a clown. All right. So I've got this face going on. I'm going to see who wants me to put what color on. You see them all here. Not white. White's boring. Somebody can go ahead and respond. They want to unmute. Just tell me what color you want. Black. I'm not putting black on. I don't have black in here. That looks scary.
Green.
Blue. All right, blue it is. I got 3 different types of blue. I've got a light, a medium, and a dark. Okay, Roden, you called it. Light, medium, or dark? All right, I'm going to go with the medium. Because my lighting isn't the greatest, but I want to be able to show some color here. So, back to my cheap eyeshadows here. Got a bunch of them. Should be under $5 for 24 of them. I think it's even cheaper than that. I'm going to grab one of these. To put this on without overdoing it. All right. You're going to start on the inside eyelid first. Okay. Because when you blink, you're going to lose most of it anyway. But all the powder will be in here and not all over the place. Okay, do you want to just have just enough color so that when you blink, people can see it and then it fades out. I'm a big fan of fading my colors out. I don't want to be overly done. All right, so I'm going to show you step by step how to put this on. A little bit goes a long way with these powders. So use it sparingly. And make sure you have a nice open, clean space to put them on, because you don't want to dump them on your table, because it takes forever for them to get out. So wherever you have, if you want to put down paper towel first, and wherever you put these, do so. Because if you have an accidental spill, it's going to make a mess. All right. So I'm going to start on the eyelid. On the eyelid, like I said, and then I'm going to spread it out. If I need to add more, I'll add more. But at this point, I can gauge which is too much and which isn't enough just by putting it on the eyelid first, and then I'll spread it. Okay. I'll spread it right into the corner of the eye, and I'll even catch a little bit of the bottom corner. And then I'll spread it out. And I'll show you just a moment here. Now, if you have a darker color, I think this isn't too bad, and some of it spreads outside of the area you want, get a clean one of these, and then you kind of feather it out. So you can use it, you just drag it more out so that it actually starts to blend more into the white, and you start erasing some of the extra excess that you had. I think for the lighting, this is actually bleaching it out, so it's not too dark. Can you guys actually see color in it? No? I'll try add more. Now you can see it. All right, so whatever I'm doing to one side, I gotta do to the other. I'll try to speed this up a little bit. All right, use the other one to level things out a little bit. How's that look? Got it? All right. And last but not least, now we got to set it, get this color out. Some of you guys have setting sprays. Okay. Mayron does make it. See how much that costs? This was old. This was from 6-7 years ago. $14 for this. Well, I'm going to save you a lot of money because I don't use this. I use this old bottle, but I don't use this stuff. What I'm going to recommend that you can use is my own concoction. So write this down. It's going to save you a lot of money. 50% tap water. 50% of this Suave number 8. Pink bottle, Target, around $4. And between this and your tap water, 50-50, all right, you should have enough to last you 3 or 4 years. All right. And that has always worked for me. I've field tested it. I've been to several circuses during the summer. I've been to fairs and events where I've worked 10 to 12-hour days. Between the combination of the water, 50% water and 50% of this, it holds. It's going to last you a while. And it does bring the color back. It's not sticky on your face. All right. Big savings there. It's worked for me. All right. That's what I've got in this bottle right here. So you can get the Mayron setting spray if you'd like. It does work. It doesn't have the chemicals and everything else that the hairspray and the water does. But if you're on a budget like I am, I get that. And I don't have to worry about running out because it's readily available. All right. You are going to find yourself, you're going to want to have a nice misting bottle. You can get it at a dollar store. Okay. I'm going to utilize this. I don't spray. I put on a fine mist. All right. You don't want to douse yourself with it. You want a fine mist. If you put on too much, I'm hoping that you are close to a hair dryer because you want the stuff to dry. Yes. Now, the reason that you want to do this is for 2 reasons. You want your makeup to hold throughout the day. All right. But you also want the color to come through because after you powdered your face and the grease and everything else, you still have a trace of that talcum powder left or your setting powder left. So wait, what?
You're gonna get it all over my wall.
I'm not going to get on your wall.
Yes, you will.
Oh, my wife is worried about her wall. Excuse me a minute. All right. Yes, you're going to have to open your mouth. No, don't try drinking it, but you got to catch the top of the lip. So. Oh, by the way, close your eyes. Just kidding. I did get my eyes. So you can see the color just went full force right away. All right. You let that go till it air dries. And when it's all said and done, you are ready for the show. Last but not least, I got to have my cherry. Now, I've been a fan of putting on the Pro Nose for years and years and years. But my buddy over at Sniffles Clown Supplies, hey, look at that, another one. Sniffles Clown Supplies commercial. Look at that. So make sure you keep that in mind. Clownsupplies.com. Because what I'm going to show you is going to help you out in clowning a lot. Radish, you may know about this because you were lucky enough to be at my fall convention. And again, I thank you for being an outstanding judge. And your lady was just lovely. We look forward to seeing her again real soon. So what I have here is the newest, latest, greatest nose on the market. Okay, it's made by the Red Nose Factory. Sniffles Clown Supplies is a vendor of theirs. Right now, they are having a hard time getting stock in this because this product is so common or so popular right now. It comes in different sizes, different shapes, different sheens, different colors. This is the product right here. All right. No glue is needed for this. None. All right. It has a clip underneath. It goes on your nose. No, this is not a nose ring at all. No, you don't need a piercing for this. This actually clips onto the septum of your nose, which is that little bar in between the 2 nostrils. All right. The rest of this is made of a high grade, high quality latex. So once you get that on your septum, the rest of it rolls on, and the nose, the latex actually hugs onto your nose while this clips onto the bottom. And once you have it on, it's extremely comfortable. You forget you even have it on. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on real quick. And that's it. There's nothing more to do. If you got a little powder on your nose, you get yourself a little baby wipe, you powder it off and you're done. There's no more glue needed. Okay, now, okay, how much does it cost, Shifty? This thing here cost me 55. Okay. But I've used this now. I've had it over a year. I've used it for several circuses. I've used it for several fairs. And I don't have to worry about picking out the glue and the spirit gum or whatever else I use. This is still good to go for another year. Now, if you take this price, you price out a Pro Nose that runs anywhere from 25 to 35, depending on your vendor, and you buy the glue, you get maybe about, depending on how heavy you use it, maybe about 4 months on heavy usage out of a nose. Yeah, this will get you a year. So for your 55 to 60 bucks, you're getting over a year as to buying 4 of the Pro Noses and then having to go through the glue. So it's a good investment if you guys are looking into it. I know
I've
that
got one of those, Rick. What I noticed though is like the color's not like real shiny like a Pro Nose. It's
yeah,
kind of
it's
a
not real
matte.
shiny,
Yeah.
but they are coming out with the ones that are high gloss,
Mhm.
and they started the glitter ones also. So I haven't tried those yet. They're still new into the market, but I can tell you, after several years of gluing my nose and then trying to get the glue off
Yeah.
afterwards, this helps.
They're nice.
This is my new Cadillac. All right. So I'm looking at everybody and nobody's in makeup but me. So I feel like the odd one out. So I hope that you guys did pick up something on here. You guys can unmute if you have questions. Oh, I've got one more portion of this I've got to go over. The last portion is, how do you get it off? Everybody's a little different on there on how to get this stuff off. And the best thing that I've used to date is finding a sink with some very warm water. That's key. And using this. Okay. Everything else has heavy chemicals in it. I'd rather not use heavy chemicals on my face. I don't want to use anything that's going to scrub my face. But if I just use this and lather it on heavy and liberally, it'll break this up. And then the combination of the warm water, it will take it off gently. All right. If you're going to be doing multiple faces in several days, I'm sure some of the advanced members would be able to attend to this, but work on getting something to put the oils back in your face, put some type of oil or cream back into your face, because your face will dry out real quick after doing this for a couple of days. So I would recommend putting yourself into a face regimen. What do you got there, Dan? I have never
Yeah,
seen
this
it.
stuff's called Clean and Clear.
Yeah.
You get it at the drugstore. Rick's got some there too. And it just, you put that stuff on and it foams up and your makeup just falls off.
Really? See, I'm learning
Yeah.
something. I like this.
Yeah, never seen anything like it. I used to do all the other stuff like the baby oil and the soap
Yep.
and water and stuff. This stuff, it just falls right off you. It's great.
Clean and Clear. I gotta write that
Yeah.
down. We gotta get some of that.
It's like a foam. I don't know if you
Like a
see
shaving
that.
cream.
Yeah, shave. Well, not even. It's like soap size.
So I can
You
make a
put it
pie
on
of
and it
that
just
and take off a clown's
melts in.
face in the middle of a circus, right?
Mhm.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
I've been
pretty
u-
good stuff.
I've been using it for years. It's great.
Well, thank you guys for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. Very helpful. Let's see. I've got a few more participants in here. Anybody have any closing comments before I close out of here? Hey, what's up, Radish?
I just have a question for you. When you put
Sure.
the blush on your cheeks, what did you use? What did you use, a powder or a real blush?
It's a powder.
Oh, it's Ben Nye.
It's
That's the-
Ben Nye.
That's the red.
DR1 Flame Red.
Oh, that's the same one then. Okay.
Yep.
Got
Yep. I just used my fancy Mickey brush to put it on.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else?
When am I still on there? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
When like you're doing the pips and stuff, as a white face, I'll take the pencil cap off of, after I do the pips, take the pencil cap off of a finer pencil and make myself some beauty marks or whatever.
Yep.
Kind of neat.
Yeah. See, this is why I like
And,
doing this kind of open format. We can always share new stuff.
Like that, your final set, like I usually use that if we're gonna be down somewhere where, like down in the southern states or something where it's really hot, but up here,
Yep.
we don't got that kind of hot. So you just take a wet rag, squeeze like a damp rag and just tap your face and that brings the colors out.
I've done that before, but I've had the misfortune of wiping my face off.
Oh, yeah.
When I
you gotta
first
be
started.
careful, kind of, yeah.
Yep. So I hopefully I covered and touched base on everything. Hopefully you guys picked up some new techniques. Feel free to reach out to me at any given time. You've got my email address, I hope.
I sent you the brand name that's clean and clear. And it's called Makeup Dissolving Foaming Cleanser. So I got it on the chat.
Sweet.
It's made by Johnson and Johnson.
Made by
It
the same
says at the
company.
bottom anyways.
Yeah.
It's not the face wash, it's the makeup remover.
Makeup remover. My wife's writing it down for me.
No, I'm buying it.
All right. So again, I'm glad to see everybody in attendance. I did record this, so I will have it available. I did have this before 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, the person that recorded it for me, he took ill, and rather than bothering him and getting that recording, I'm letting him, and God, let him heal best he can. And I'm going to release this to everybody along with my little side notes so that you guys can utilize it for future use. Thank you for being patient with me. Again, this is kind of a shameless plug on my convention coming up in April. It's April 19th through the 22nd in Ann Arbor. For those that are interested in coming up for some education, for some sightseeing, I do have a competition, but that's not the most important part. I'd rather see you guys come up, enjoy yourselves, and learn a few things from fellow clowns like myself, and just have a good time. If you need some more information, feel free to email me back. Until then, everybody keep clowning on. You guys are all beautiful, wonderful. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
see ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
You're very welcome.
Thank you,
And-
Ricky.
You're very welcome.
Hey, listen, have you heard anything about Mike Spenceley's service? Are they gonna give him a Masonic service?
I believe they
It's-
are,
It's while we're in,
but I'm going to be in Cincinnati when it happens, unfortunately.
it's during ISCA on Sunday after.
Okay,
A
I
Sunday
didn't find out
afternoon?
about it until a couple days ago.
Yeah. You're part of Muslim, correct?
Sure,
Rodin. I'm trying.
I'm fuzzy.
That's fuzzy. And
That's
now
my
I know,
wife.
because I know that laugh anywhere. Now I know.
Restaurant.
What, Juan
Yeah,
Miguel's?
I'm still on. If you do, go into ICP and look when I'm clowning. You'll see me in there and hear my laugh.
Yep,
It's his
I know that
mother.
laugh anywhere.
It's
Man,
his
it is
me
good to hear
and,
and see from you again.
Me and Tada are in that video.
I know that's right. I've seen that video.
Yeah. I'll
Oh.
tell your wife I said hi, okay?
I
Will
miss
do.
you.
Will do. Ocho, it's always good to see you, man. I hope you got what you needed out of it. All right, guys, I'm going to let you be. I'm going to get cleaned up and call it a night. Y'all take care.
Talk to you later, buddy.
Yep. Bye.